where they selected Will Campbell to the surprise of not really that many, honestly, but the best tackle on the board. Then bringing in Trayvon Henderson, Kyle Williams, Jared Wilson, Craig Woodson, Joshua Farmer, Marcus Bryant, Julian Ashby, Kobe Minor, and among others. So, Kelcey, how do we feel about a draft that was led by an offensive lineman?
First of all, Will Campbell, A+. Travion Henderson, A+. Kyle Williams, a B. Jared Wilson, I think that was an A+ snag at where he got him. Craig Woodson, I think that's a B. Josh Farmer, I think, was an underrated pick out of all this. I think that was an A+ value, especially coming from a compensatory pick. I couldn't ask for anything else after that. And again, they gave me a kicker being drafted, and that gives me the reason to give him an A. And that's what I'm going with is an A. It was a B until that kicker was on the board, and now it's an A for the Pats. Maybe I'm just being, you know what it is? Maybe I figured out why I'm being nice this year. So I don't care about the draft by team basis. I am just purely looking at it from a neutral standpoint of what did they get the right fit for him versus like, oh great, the Giants got another guy. Like I don't have to be mad about anything anymore. I can just be mad about stupid picks in general, not normal. So yeah, maybe that's why I'm being extra nice. So yeah, Pat's getting an A for me.
The perks of not technically having an NFL fandom right now is you're still a free agent, but I agree with you. Love the Will Campbell pick. Love the Trayvon Henderson pick. I love the Kyle Williams pick. He could have easily been an early second round pick. He is very dynamic. He was catching passes from Cam Ward. The Titans could have taken him. Jared Wilson, an outstanding pick. You are building that offensive line to keep Drake May upright. And what Will Campbell said about he will die to protect Drake May, I'm ready to run through a brick wall, even though I won't be coming back through that brick wall after I do. But that's exactly what you want. Farmers, you mentioned Brady Swinson's an outstanding pick out of LSU too to get him in the fifth round like he did. They had an outstanding draft. Kobe Minor to round it out. We're going to come to a good agreement on this one, and I will be giving them an A as well. The A stands for New England. There's an A in there, so that was an outstanding pick, and Drake May gives it an A on top of it to pair Kyle Williams with Stephon Diggs and the players they have. They're looking to make a little bit of noise next year. We'll see how much they are able to make, but moving down.
I do want to throw one out there we didn't mention, but Marcus Bryant from Missouri, the offensive tackle, he did help that Missouri team to lead the nation in rushing 2 years ago. So just throwing it out there, that's not a bad pick in the 7th round either. He is coming off injury, though, so that might be a little bit of a reason why.
And you look at how many picks they had to, and they had so many of them that on paper look like good picks, which is exactly what if you're in a position like New England and Mike Vrabel coming in to take over the new regime. So we're going to move from the Northeast to the Southeast with the Miami Dolphins, kicking things off with Kenneth Grant, followed by Jonas Savania, Jordan Phillips, Jason Marshall, Dante Trader, Ollie Gordon, Quinn Ewers, and Zeke Biggers. So, Kelcey, how are we feeling about this draft?
So the first pick, I was like, all right, that's a B- pick. Jonas Savania, I really like in the 2nd round where they got him. Jordan Phillips, that's a B pick for me. Jason Marshall, Dante Trader, whatever. Ollie Gordon in the 6th round, you're talking about the nation's leading rusher 2 years in a row. Not this last year, though, by the way. Or sorry, the Big 12's leading rusher 2 years in a row, not this past year. Just finished 2nd in the Big 12. Huge snag there. I think Quinn Ewers sliding to the 7th is a very curious situation. And if it wasn't for Shedeur Sanders, we would probably be talking about Quinn Ewers' slide a little more. And so I think that is a value pick for a situation in Miami where you might need a quarterback to step up again like you have the past 3 years. So overall, I mean, I look at this draft and I'm like, you got everything you needed. You got depth in places. You didn't maybe hit the home run hits, but you hit the chalk picks that you need, the baseline picks. So for that reason, I'm just giving them a B. It's a solid, boring B. Maybe B stands for boring this year as well.
Boring, basic. Well, it's something along those lines for sure. But I gotta say, I love the Ollie Gordon, Quinn Ewers late picks. I think those are underrated picks. I think those are good players that just kind of slid, just how it is. If Quinn Ewers has to play this year because Tua unfortunately misses time pretty frequently, I think he could run that offense relatively decently as in the same way. He already doesn't have necessarily a cannon, but neither does Tua. They don't push the ball 70 yards downfield. Ollie Gordon, I think, is still plenty good. Just kind of got buried in the rough this year amongst so many running backs this year that have been outstanding. The reason, but for them, I'm going to go with a C. And I'm going with a C because I don't like how the top of their draft necessarily went. Savania is a good player. I like it. Jordan Phillips, a good player. Kenneth Grant, a good player. I'm looking at like you need decent secondary help. Jedi Barron was there. You needed offensive line help, so Savania works. You could have gone in the 1st round. Phillips is fine at defensive tackle, but doubling down with 2 of your first 3, I thought was a little bit odd because you also need edge help. Corner, but Jason Marshall, solid. Like, I think the positions were just a little bit out of whack where they grabbed him. I know you don't really go on position, you draft on value, grade, et cetera, but Jedi Barron was an elite player in the class, and he was right there for it. I think that would have made a world of difference, but that's going to be nitpicking mostly because they had certain needs, and I feel like they kind of addressed them in a weird way. They took the backwards way of going that I would have went about it based on how the board was falling. However, a team that gets Kenneth Grant and Savanier, I can't really go lower than a C. Like, a C is me being a bad cop at this point.
Yeah, that's fair. I get where you're coming from, though. I mean, the draft is what it is, and in certain cases with the Dolphins, sometimes it's more about just like filling the gaps where you have them more than best available. And I think that's where they went, is they just filled the gaps in a lot of cases. And I think they did a decent enough job.
Speaking of teams that might be looking to take off here sooner or later, we got the New York Football Jets with starting things off with Armand Membo at pick number 7, followed by Mason Taylor in the second round, Thomas in the third round, Arian Smith in the fourth with Malachi Moore, Tyler Barron, and Francisco. I don't know how to pronounce it off the top of my head for Miami. Kelcey, how are we feeling about the Jets draft?
I want to be an A. I want this to be an A. I want to force it to be an A. But from Arian Smith skipping Malachi Moore, so the 3 out of the last 4 picks I don't like. I thought with what you have left, you have you have 2 fourths, 2 fifths. You have to be really good there. They weren't really good there. They were Malachi Moore good. The other 3, are you sure? Especially for a team who potentially could use a quarterback. The fact that we just saw Quinn Ewers go off in the 7th. We've talked about Riley Leonard. We've talked about different quarterbacks across the board going in the 6th and 7th round. That could have potentially been in one of those picks for the Jets. So it's a little surprising they didn't try something like that late. So for me, I'm not going to take a C. I'm not going that mean with them. I think a B because the top 3 picks I think were stellar. I just think below that is where I got questioning everything other than Malachi Moore.
That's perfectly fair too, and I get that. I mean, Armand Membu is the one where I think we're all kind of agreeing. It's like, yep, where you were picking what was available, that makes all the sense in the world. Like, you needed that. Mason Taylor, good athletic tight end. Thomas, solid corner. Arian Smith, solid receiver. Malachi Moore, solid secondary. Overall, it was just solid after Membo. Like, Membo was kind of the bingo. There's your A pick. The rest of them were just solid. So I'm going to go with C. So the C stands for solid for me, I guess, today. It's not even hating on it. Like, I don't really – there's a few things I might have picked here or there slightly, but at the end of the day, it was a fine draft. You hit some of the needs that you had. So they'll be fine. The big question for them is, how's Justin Fields going to look, and how's that new head coaching staff going to look? And Armand Membo makes it a little bit easier with him not having to get assaulted in every direction if the offensive line caving in. So that's the biggest thing that they hit, which now take us to the 5-time defending AFC East champions, now Buffalo Bills, starting off with Maxwell Hairston, followed by TJ Sanders, Landon Jackson, Deion Walker, Jordan Hancock, Jackson Hawes, Dorian Strong, Chase London, and Caden Prather. So, Kelcey, how do we feel about the almost but not quite AFC representatives?
Yeah, this was just shy of an A. I think their number one, Maxwell Hairston, was a home run. I love Maxwell Hairston coming out of Kentucky for what the Bills need. I think that part of it is a home run for them. I'm not saying he should deserve to go over a lot of other guys, but I think in that situation for the Bills and what they need, absolutely perfect fit. TJ Sanders, I think, again, talk about a guy filling in on a line where maybe he doesn't need to be the best guy as in that defensive tackle role. He can just be that guy, just a guy on the defensive line, because they have a lot of other that guys on that defensive line. So he just comes in and fills in as a second, third option, just really taking up bodies, during the pass game, and then in the run game, same thing, taking up bodies, shedding blocks just to make a assist tackle or something. That makes sense. Landon Jackson, I think, is a steal in pick 8, or round 3, pick 8. I thought he was a potential second round, maybe even a late first. Somebody wanted to get sneaky. Gone a long way since that slapping the tackling dummies in the high school drill. But other than that, I think beyond that, I think we're all just Bs, maybe a B- here or there. So that's just going to give me a B solid across the board for the Bills.
B for Bills, it makes sense. I don't love the Maxwell Hairston pick. I think there was 3 other corners on the board I'd have taken before them. One thing I don't love about him from a few different scouting reports that I'd seen afterwards is you could really tell he really banks on the fact that he's the fastest guy on the field. More often than not, like, he utilizes that makeup speed that is not going to work so well when you play Miami, or work so well in a lot of it. So I hope that's not going to be his game at the next level, amongst other things. Landon Jackson's the A+. That's my favorite pick of this entire of their entire thing by far. That's an awesome one. TJ Sanders, good. The rest solid. We're to give him a B for Bills as well, just because I think the rest of it hits. I think if they would have, for me, if they would have hit on their first round pick, I think it's an A. I think the rest of them fit really nicely, but I just don't love Maxwell Hairston, amongst other things of why not. But I also just don't necessarily love I don't love his transition game at corner, especially when their biggest issue, he has a lot of similarities to Kyer Elam, just much faster. And I'm like, you just got rid of him. Like you can't keep getting away with it, and you haven't been getting away with it. But I digress.